Question 1. What factors determine the eligibility of a candidate for admission into Babalola University Ekiti, considering the university's entrance examination and the broader Nigerian educational regulatory framework? Option A. A candidate's performance in the Babalola University Ekiti entrance exam, their prior academic achievements, and adherence to all stipulated university admission requirements. Option B. The strength of personal recommendations from influential individuals or university staff. Option C. The applicant's social background and perceived potential for future networking benefits to the university. Option D. The applicant's family's financial standing and ability to contribute to university development. The correct answer is A. A candidate's performance in the Babalola University Ekiti entrance exam, their prior academic achievements, and adherence to all stipulated university admission requirements. Explanation: this scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing the university's admission policies with the ethical considerations of fairness and equal opportunity for all prospective students. The Babalola University Ekiti entrance exam is governed by specific internal regulations and Nigerian educational policies, which prioritize merit and adherence to established criteria. The challenge lies in interpreting and applying these regulations consistently, ensuring that no undue influence or bias affects the admission process. The correct approach involves a thorough understanding and strict adherence to the Babalola University Ekiti's published admission criteria and the Nigerian National Universities Commission (NUC) guidelines for university admissions. This means evaluating candidates solely based on their academic performance in the entrance examination, their previous academic records, and any other objective criteria stipulated in the university's prospectus. This approach is ethically sound and regulatorily compliant because it upholds the principles of transparency, fairness, and meritocracy, which are fundamental to educational admissions in Nigeria. It ensures that all applicants are judged by the same standards, preventing discrimination and promoting equal opportunity. An incorrect approach that prioritizes personal recommendations over objective assessment fails to comply with the university's admission regulations. Such an approach introduces subjectivity and potential bias, undermining the integrity of the entrance examination and the admission process. It violates the ethical principle of fairness by giving preferential treatment to certain candidates, irrespective of their qualifications. Another incorrect approach that focuses on the financial capacity of the applicant's family rather than their academic merit directly contravenes the spirit and letter of university admission policies in Nigeria, which are designed to select the most capable students. This approach is ethically problematic as it commercializes education and excludes deserving candidates who may lack financial resources. Finally, an approach that considers the applicant's social connections or affiliations with university staff or influential individuals is also a failure. This introduces an element of nepotism or favoritism, which is contrary to the principles of merit-based selection and fair competition. It erodes public trust in the university's admission process and can lead to the admission of less qualified individuals, ultimately impacting the academic standards of the institution. The professional decision-making process for similar situations involves first identifying the relevant regulatory framework and institutional policies. This is followed by a clear understanding of the ethical principles governing admissions, such as fairness, transparency, and meritocracy. When faced with a decision, a professional should always refer back to these established criteria and policies, ensuring that their judgment is objective and defensible. If there is any ambiguity, seeking clarification from the appropriate university authorities or admissions committee is crucial. The ultimate goal is to uphold the integrity of the admission process and ensure that the university admits students who are academically prepared and deserving. Question 2. The monitoring system demonstrates a statistically significant deviation in the performance of a specific group of candidates in a particular section of the Babalola University Ekiti entrance examination, raising concerns about potential irregularities. Which of the following actions best upholds the integrity of the examination process and the principles of fairness? Option A. Immediately disqualify all candidates within the observed group based on the statistical anomaly. Option B. Overlook the anomaly to avoid potential administrative complications and maintain the smooth progression of the admissions process. Option C. Initiate a thorough, impartial investigation into the observed anomaly, adhering to Babalola University's examination protocols and relevant Nigerian educational guidelines to gather evidence and determine appropriate action. Option D. Publicly announce the observed anomaly and request voluntary confessions from candidates within the affected group. Correct answer is A. Immediately disqualify all candidates within the observed group based on the statistical anomaly. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing the university's need for efficient admissions with the ethical imperative to ensure fairness and transparency in the selection process, especially when dealing with potential irregularities. The entrance examination process at Babalola University Ekiti is governed by its internal regulations and the broader Nigerian educational standards. A careful judgment is required to uphold the integrity of the examination and the university's reputation. The correct approach involves a thorough, impartial investigation of the observed anomaly, adhering strictly to Babalola University's established examination protocols and the National Universities Commission (NUC) guidelines for university admissions. This approach prioritizes evidence-based decision-making and due process. It ensures that any action taken is justified, fair to all candidates, and aligns with the university's commitment to academic integrity. This upholds the principles of fairness and transparency mandated by the university's charter and Nigerian educational policies, which emphasize meritocracy and equal opportunity in admissions. An approach that immediately disqualifies candidates based on a single observation without further investigation is ethically flawed. It violates the principle of natural justice, which dictates that individuals should not be condemned without a fair hearing or proper evidence. Such an action could lead to wrongful disqualification, damaging the reputation of the university, and potentially leading to legal challenges. It also fails to consider potential mitigating circumstances or errors in the monitoring system itself. Another incorrect approach, which is to ignore the anomaly to avoid potential controversy, is professionally negligent. This abdication of responsibility undermines the integrity of the examination process and the university's commitment to fair admissions. It allows potential breaches of examination regulations to go unchecked, setting a dangerous precedent and eroding trust in the institution. This directly contravenes the university's duty of care to ensure a fair and equitable admissions process as outlined in its admission policies and the overarching regulatory framework for higher education in Nigeria. The professional reasoning process should involve 1. Acknowledging the observed anomaly and its potential implications. 2. Consulting the Babalola University Ekiti examination regulations and relevant NUC guidelines to understand the prescribed procedures for handling irregularities. 3. Initiating a formal, impartial investigation to gather all relevant facts and evidence. 4. Evaluating the evidence to determine the nature and extent of any breach. 5. Applying the established disciplinary procedures fairly and consistently. 6. Documenting all steps taken and decisions made. Question 3. Market research demonstrates that prospective students are influenced by perceptions of university entrance exam difficulty. Babalola University Ekiti is preparing its promotional materials for the upcoming entrance examination. Which of the following approaches best aligns with the university's commitment to academic integrity and fair admissions? Option A. Providing vague assurances about the exam's fairness without detailing the assessment criteria or syllabus. Option B. Emphasizing the comprehensive nature of the syllabus and the skills the exam is designed to assess, encouraging thorough preparation. Option C. Stating that the entrance exam is designed to be easily passable for all applicants, regardless of their preparation level. Option D. Highlighting that the entrance exam is exceptionally challenging, intended only for a select few with advanced prior knowledge. The correct answer is B. Emphasizing the comprehensive nature of the syllabus and the skills the exam is designed to assess, encouraging thorough preparation. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the university's need to attract qualified students with the ethical obligation to ensure the integrity of the entrance examination process. Misrepresenting the difficulty or nature of the exam can mislead prospective students, potentially leading to disappointment, a perception of unfairness, and damage to the university's reputation. Careful judgment is required to communicate accurately while still presenting the university favorably. The correct approach involves transparently communicating the exam's purpose and general scope, emphasizing preparation and the skills assessed, rather than making definitive statements about its ease or difficulty. This aligns with the ethical principles of honesty and fairness expected in academic admissions. Specifically, within the context of Babalola University Ekiti's entrance exam framework, the emphasis should be on providing prospective students with sufficient information to understand what is expected of them, enabling them to prepare adequately. This approach respects the autonomy of the applicant by allowing them to make an informed decision based on accurate information, and upholds the university's commitment to academic standards. An incorrect approach that focuses on downplaying the exam's rigor or making guarantees about its ease would be ethically problematic. Such a tactic misleads applicants, potentially causing them to underprepare and subsequently fail, leading to disillusionment and a negative perception of the university. This violates the principle of honesty and could be seen as deceptive marketing. Another incorrect approach that exaggerates the exam's difficulty to create an aura of exclusivity without providing concrete details about the assessment criteria would also be unprofessional. While it might seem to enhance prestige, it fails to equip applicants with the necessary information for effective preparation and can be perceived as an attempt to deter rather than attract qualified candidates, undermining the university's mission to admit deserving students. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes transparency, accuracy, and fairness. This involves understanding the university's admission goals, the purpose of the entrance examination, and the ethical responsibilities towards prospective students. The process should involve gathering factual information about the exam's content and assessment methods, and then communicating this information in a clear, honest, and balanced manner. If there are specific areas of focus or types of questions, these should be communicated to guide preparation. The ultimate goal is to attract suitable candidates through genuine merit and informed choice, rather than through misleading information. Question 4. The risk matrix shows a moderate risk associated with incomplete application documentation for the Babalola University Ekiti entrance examination. An applicant has submitted their application, but a crucial academic transcript from a previous institution appears to be missing. The admissions committee is aware of this omission. What is the most appropriate course of action for the admissions committee to take? Option A. Immediately reject the application due to the incomplete documentation, as per standard procedure. Option B. Contact the applicant directly to request the missing academic transcript and allow them an opportunity to explain the omission before making a final decision. Option C. Rely on information from other applicants or sources to infer the applicant's academic standing regarding the missing transcript. Option D. Accept the application based on the submitted documents, assuming the applicant will provide the transcript if requested later. The correct answer is A. Immediately reject the application due to the incomplete documentation, as per standard procedure. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing the university's commitment to academic integrity with the practical realities of managing admissions and the potential impact on institutional reputation. The admissions committee must make a judgment call based on incomplete information, where strict adherence to a single rule might lead to an unfair outcome, while leniency could compromise the integrity of the entrance process. Careful consideration of the applicant's overall profile and the specific circumstances surrounding the omission is crucial. The correct approach involves a thorough review of the applicant's complete academic record and a direct, respectful inquiry to the applicant regarding the missing information. This aligns with the principles of fairness and due diligence expected in any admissions process. Specifically, it upholds the university's commitment to admitting qualified students while ensuring transparency and providing the applicant with an opportunity to explain any discrepancies. This approach respects the applicant's right to be heard and allows for a more informed decision, consistent with the spirit of fair evaluation. An approach that immediately rejects the application based solely on the missing information fails to acknowledge potential extenuating circumstances or simple administrative oversights. This is procedurally unfair and does not align with the ethical obligation to conduct a comprehensive evaluation. An approach that accepts the application without seeking clarification or further information risks admitting a candidate who may not meet the required standards or who has intentionally misrepresented their academic history. This undermines the integrity of the admissions process and could set a precedent for future applicants to omit information. An approach that relies on hearsay or assumptions about the applicant's intentions is unprofessional and unethical. Decisions must be based on verifiable facts and direct communication, not speculation. The professional decision-making process in such situations involves 1. Information gathering. Collect all available relevant data. 2. Clarification. Seek direct input from the source of the information, the applicant. 3. Evaluation. Assess the gathered information and the applicant's explanation against established criteria. 4. Decision. Make a reasoned judgment based on the comprehensive evaluation. 5. Documentation. Record the process and the rationale for the final decision. Question 5. The control framework reveals a discrepancy between a prospective student's submitted academic transcripts and their performance on the Babalola University Ekiti entrance examination. The student's examination score is significantly higher than what would typically be expected based on their academic record, and they have provided a brief, unsubstantiated explanation for this variance. What is the most appropriate course of action for the admissions committee to ensure the integrity of the entrance examination process? Option A. Accept the candidate's self-reported explanation for the discrepancy and proceed with their admission, assuming the higher examination score indicates potential. Option B. Overlook the discrepancy as a minor oversight, given the strong entrance examination score, and proceed with the candidate's admission to fill a vacant slot. Option C. Conduct a thorough, independent verification of the candidate's academic records and examination performance against the admission criteria, and request further documentation or clarification from the candidate if necessary, before making a final admission decision. Option D. Immediately disqualify the candidate from the entrance examination process due to the suspected irregularity and inform them of the disciplinary action. The correct answer is C. Conduct a thorough, independent verification of the candidate's academic records and examination performance against admission criteria, and request further documentation or clarification from the candidate if necessary, before making a final admission decision. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing the university's need for accurate admissions data with the ethical obligation to protect applicant privacy and ensure fairness in the entrance examination process. The control framework, as it pertains to Babalola University, Ekiti entrance exams, would implicitly or explicitly govern data handling, integrity, and the equitable treatment of all candidates. As an academic institution, is expected to adhere to principles of academic integrity and data protection, even if specific statutory regulations are not explicitly detailed in the exam scope. The challenge lies in interpreting the spirit of these controls when faced with a potential shortcut that could compromise these principles. The correct approach involves a thorough, independent verification of the candidate's academic records and examination performance against the established admission criteria. This upholds the integrity of the admissions process by ensuring that all candidates are evaluated based on merit and adherence to the stated requirements. It aligns with the ethical imperative of fairness and transparency, preventing any perception of undue influence or preferential treatment. This approach is justified by the fundamental principles of academic governance and the trust placed in the university to conduct fair and objective assessments. An incorrect approach that involves accepting the candidate's self-reported information without independent verification fails to uphold the control framework's intent. This bypasses the established checks and balances designed to ensure accuracy and fairness, potentially leading to the admission of unqualified candidates or the rejection of deserving ones. It also risks creating a precedent for circumventing established procedures, undermining the credibility of the entire admissions process. Another incorrect approach, which involves immediately flagging the candidate for potential disciplinary action based solely on the discrepancy, is premature and lacks due process. While vigilance is important, fair process requires investigation and an opportunity for the candidate to explain or rectify the situation before punitive measures are considered. This approach fails to acknowledge the possibility of genuine errors or misunderstandings. A further incorrect approach, which is to dismiss the discrepancy as a minor oversight and proceed with admission, directly violates the principle of maintaining accurate and reliable admission data. This demonstrates a lack of diligence and a disregard for the established control framework, potentially opening the door to future irregularities and compromising the academic standards of the university. The professional decision-making process in such situations should involve 1. Understanding the established admission criteria and the control framework governing the examination and admissions process at a BUED. 2. Identifying any discrepancies between candidate submissions and established requirements. 3. Initiating a process of independent verification to confirm or refute the discrepancy. 4. If a discrepancy is confirmed, seeking clarification from the candidate and allowing them an opportunity to provide evidence or explanation. 5. Making a decision based on verified facts and established policies, ensuring fairness and integrity. 6. Documenting the entire process and the final decision. Question 6. Process analysis reveals that the Babalola University Ekiti Entrance Exam Admissions Committee is under pressure to finalize offers quickly due to an impending deadline. A prospective student's application is missing a crucial academic transcript, but they have provided a provisional statement of results and a strong personal essay. The committee member is considering recommending provisional admission pending the submission of the official transcript. Citing the student's potential and the need to meet targets, what is the most appropriate course of action according to the principles governing university entrance examinations? Option A. Expedite the admission process by accepting the provisional statement of results and personal essay as sufficient evidence of academic merit, overlooking the missing transcript for now. Option B. Request an informal confirmation of the student's academic performance from their previous institution via phone to expedite the decision. Option C. Recommend provisional admission, contingent on the immediate submission of the official transcript and a clear timeline for its receipt. Option D. Reject the application outright due to the missing official transcript, adhering strictly to the requirement for complete documentation before any consideration. The correct answer is C. Recommend provisional admission, contingent on the immediate submission of the official transcript and a clear timeline for its receipt. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the university's need for timely admissions processing with the ethical obligation to ensure all applicants are treated fairly and their information is handled with integrity. The pressure to meet admission targets can create a temptation to overlook procedural irregularities or to expedite decisions without proper due diligence. Careful judgment is required to uphold the standards of the Babalola University Ekiti entrance exam process. The correct approach involves a thorough review of all submitted documents, including verification of academic transcripts and any other required credentials, before making an admission decision. This aligns with the principles of fairness, transparency, and academic integrity that are fundamental to any reputable educational institution's entrance examination process. Specifically, it adheres to the implicit guidelines of the Babalola University Ekiti entrance exam, which mandates a rigorous and equitable selection process. This ensures that only qualified candidates are admitted, maintaining the academic standards of the university. An incorrect approach that prioritizes speed over accuracy would fail to uphold the integrity of the entrance examination. This could involve admitting a candidate based on incomplete or unverified documentation, potentially leading to the admission of individuals who do not meet the required academic standards. This violates the ethical principle of fairness to other applicants who have submitted complete and accurate information. Another incorrect approach, which involves accepting unofficial or informal recommendations without proper verification, undermines the structured and merit-based selection process that the entrance exam is designed to facilitate. This introduces an element of subjectivity and potential bias, compromising the impartiality expected in admissions. Professionals in admissions should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes adherence to established university policies and the principles of fairness and integrity. This involves a systematic review of all application components, independent verification of credentials, and a commitment to treating all applicants equitably. When faced with pressure or potential shortcuts, professionals must refer back to the core objectives of the entrance examination and the university's admission regulations, ensuring that decisions are defensible and ethically sound. Question 7. Process analysis reveals that during the Babalola University Ekiti entrance examination admission cycle, a prospective student's application package contains all required academic transcripts and certificates, but a minor administrative error is noted on one of the supporting documents, which does not affect the academic merit of the applicant. The admissions officer is aware of the applicant's strong performance in the entrance examination itself. Considering the university's commitment to academic excellence and fair admission practices, what is the most appropriate course of action? Option A. Forward the application for further review by the admissions committee, highlighting the minor error and the candidate's strong examination performance for their final decision. Option B. Contact the applicant to request a corrected document before proceeding with the evaluation of their application. Option C. Proceed with the admission of the candidate after noting the minor administrative error, as the academic merit and examination performance are strong. Option D. Reject the application outright due to the presence of any error, regardless of its nature or impact on academic standing. Correct answer is C. Proceed with the admission of the candidate after noting the minor administrative error, as the academic merit and examination performance are strong. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the university's commitment to academic integrity with the need to fairly assess prospective students. The admission process, particularly for a reputable institution like Babalola University, must adhere to established guidelines to ensure fairness and prevent bias. The challenge lies in interpreting and applying these guidelines in a way that upholds the university's standards while respecting the rights and aspirations of applicants. The correct approach involves a thorough and objective review of all submitted documentation against the published admission criteria. This method is correct because it directly aligns with the principles of fairness, transparency, and meritocracy that underpin university admissions. Specifically, it adheres to the implied regulatory framework of Babalola University's entrance examination, which would mandate that all applicants be evaluated based on the same, predefined standards. This ensures that decisions are not arbitrary and are defensible against any potential challenges. Ethically, it promotes equal opportunity for all candidates. An incorrect approach would be to prioritize a candidate based on informal recommendations or perceived potential, without concrete evidence from their application. This is ethically flawed as it introduces subjectivity and potential bias, undermining the fairness of the selection process. It also violates the implicit regulatory requirement of objective assessment based on stated criteria. Another incorrect approach would be to overlook minor discrepancies in documentation due to sympathy for a candidate's circumstances. While empathy is a valuable human trait, it cannot override the established admission regulations. Failure to adhere to these regulations can lead to accusations of favoritism and compromise the integrity of the entire admission system. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of the university's admission policy and guidelines. When faced with ambiguity or difficult cases, professionals should consult the relevant policy documents, seek clarification from superiors or the admissions committee, and always prioritize objective evidence over subjective impressions or external influences. The focus should remain on ensuring that the process is fair, transparent, and consistently applied to all applicants. Question 8. Process analysis reveals that during the Babalola University Ekiti entrance exam administration, a prospective applicant's guardian expresses concern that their child, despite strong academic records in secondary school, might not perform well on the entrance exam due to test anxiety. The guardian requests that the university consider their child's overall academic history more heavily than the entrance exam score. Which of the following approaches best aligns with the principles of fair and transparent university admissions as governed by the Babalola University Ekiti entrance exam framework? Option A. Inform the guardian that while test anxiety is a concern, the university cannot deviate from its established admission criteria and will proceed with the standard evaluation process without further discussion. Option B. Reassure the guardian that the university values a holistic review of applicants, but firmly reiterate that the entrance examination is a critical and standardized component of the admission process, with specific weighting for all assessment elements as per university policy. Option C. Suggest that the applicant withdraw their application and reapply in a subsequent year, hoping that their test anxiety will be managed by then, while assuring them that their academic history is noted. Option D. Agree to give the applicant's secondary school academic records a significantly higher weighting than the entrance exam score, as requested by the guardian, to account for potential test anxiety. The correct answer is B. Reassure the guardian that the university values a holistic review of applicants, but firmly reiterate that the entrance examination is a critical and standardized component of the admission process, with specific weighting for all assessment elements as per university policy. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge in managing stakeholder expectations and ensuring transparency during the university's admission process, specifically concerning the Babalola University Ekiti entrance exam. The challenge lies in balancing the desire to attract qualified candidates with the need to adhere strictly to the established admission criteria and the university's regulatory framework. Mismanaging this can lead to perceptions of unfairness, erode trust among applicants and their families, and potentially violate the principles of equitable access to education, as outlined by the university's governing policies. The correct approach involves a proactive and transparent communication strategy that clearly outlines the entrance examination's purpose, the selection criteria, and the weight given to different components of the assessment. This aligns with the university's commitment to merit-based admissions and fair evaluation, as implicitly governed by its entrance examination guidelines. By providing clear information, the university upholds its integrity and ensures that all applicants understand the basis of their assessment, fostering a sense of trust and legitimacy in the admission process. This approach is ethically sound and professionally responsible, as it prioritizes fairness and clarity. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on the perceived academic potential of a candidate without regard for the standardized entrance examination results would be professionally unacceptable. This would violate the principle of equal opportunity and could lead to accusations of favoritism or bias, undermining the credibility of the Babalola University Ekiti entrance exam. Another incorrect approach, which involves withholding information about the examination scoring or weighting from applicants, creates an opaque process. This lack of transparency is ethically questionable and can lead to distrust and dissatisfaction among stakeholders, as it prevents candidates from understanding how their applications are evaluated. Furthermore, an approach that prioritizes anecdotal evidence or personal recommendations over the objective assessment provided by the entrance exam would disregard the established framework for evaluating candidates, potentially leading to the admission of less qualified individuals, and compromising the academic standards the university aims to uphold. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a thorough understanding of the university's admission policies and the specific regulations governing the entrance examination. Professionals should prioritize transparency, fairness, and adherence to established criteria. When faced with ambiguous situations or requests that deviate from policy, seeking clarification from relevant university authorities or committees is crucial. The focus should always be on maintaining the integrity and reputation of the institution by ensuring that all admission decisions are based on objective and equitable evaluation methods. Question 9. Process analysis reveals that the Babalola University Ekiti Admissions Committee has received an application from a candidate whose parent is a highly influential alumnus with a strong desire for their child's admission. The alumnus has made a personal appeal to the committee, highlighting their own contributions to the university and expressing confidence in their child's potential. Though the candidate's academic record and entrance exam scores are only moderately competitive, which approach best upholds the integrity of the Babalola University Ekiti entrance exam process. Option A. Create a special review panel to assess the candidate's potential beyond the standard entrance exam scores, considering the alumnus's recommendation as a primary factor. Option B. Inform the alumnus that their child's application will be reviewed, but subtly suggest that further engagement from them might positively influence the outcome. Option C. Grant the candidate preferential admission due to the significant influence and past contributions of their alumnus parent, ensuring the alumnus's satisfaction. Option D. Evaluate the candidate's application strictly based on the published admission criteria and the candidate's performance in the entrance examination, giving no special consideration due to the parent's alumni status or influence. The correct answer is D. Evaluate the candidate's application strictly based on the published admission criteria and the candidate's performance in the entrance examination, giving no special consideration due to the parent's alumni status or influence. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between the university's admission policies and the potential for undue influence from external parties. The admissions committee must navigate this delicate situation while upholding the integrity of the entrance examination process, which is governed by Babalola University's established regulations and guidelines. The primary objective is to ensure fairness, transparency, and meritocracy in selecting candidates, preventing any perception of bias or favoritism. The correct approach involves a thorough and impartial review of all applications, strictly adhering to the published admission criteria and the university's internal policies. This approach prioritizes objective assessment of academic merit and suitability for the chosen program, as defined by the Babalola University Ekiti entrance exam framework. It ensures that all candidates are evaluated on a level playing field, irrespective of their background or any external recommendations. This aligns with the ethical imperative of maintaining academic integrity and the university's commitment to admitting qualified students based on their own achievements. An incorrect approach would be to give undue weight to the recommendation from the influential alumnus without a corresponding objective assessment of the candidate's qualifications. This could lead to compromising the admission standards and potentially admitting a less qualified candidate, thereby undermining the fairness of the process. Such an action would violate the principles of meritocracy and could be seen as a breach of the university's admission regulations, which are designed to ensure that all applicants are judged by the same objective criteria. Another incorrect approach would be to dismiss the application outright based on the perceived influence, without a proper review of the candidate's academic record and performance in the entrance examination. This would be discriminatory and unfair, as it penalizes the candidate for factors beyond their control. The university's regulations likely mandate a fair and comprehensive evaluation of every applicant. A third incorrect approach would be to seek to circumvent the standard admission procedures by creating a special review process for this particular candidate. This would introduce an element of subjectivity and could be perceived as preferential treatment, eroding trust in the admission system and potentially violating the spirit, if not the letter, of the university's admission policies. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of the university's admission policies and ethical guidelines. When faced with external pressures or recommendations, the committee must first identify the potential conflict of interest. The next step is to consult the relevant university regulations to determine the appropriate course of action. The focus should always remain on objective evaluation based on established criteria. If there is any ambiguity or concern, seeking guidance from senior university officials or the legal department is advisable. The ultimate goal is to make a decision that is both fair to the applicant and upholds the integrity of the institution. Question 10. Process analysis reveals that during the Babalola University Ekiti entrance exam administration, a candidate exhibits exceptional confidence and articulates a strong vision for their future contributions to the university's endowment fund, even though their performance on the core academic sections of the exam is average. Considering the primary objective of the entrance exam is to assess academic preparedness for university study, how should the assessment committee proceed? Option A. Consider the candidate's confidence and articulation as indicators of leadership potential, which might compensate for a less stellar academic performance. Option B. Recommend the candidate for a special interview to further explore their financial background and potential for future donations, irrespective of their exam scores. Option C. Assign significant weight to the candidate's expressed financial potential and future contributions, as this could benefit the university in the long term. Option D. Evaluate the candidate solely based on their performance on the academic sections of the entrance exam, as this aligns with the stated purpose of assessing academic preparedness. Correct answer is D. Evaluate the candidate solely based on their performance on the academic sections of the entrance exam, as this aligns with the stated purpose of assessing academic preparedness. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the university's commitment to academic integrity with the need to fairly assess prospective students. The challenge lies in interpreting and applying the Babalola University Ekiti entrance exam guidelines in a way that is both equitable and upholds the standards of the institution. A careful judgment is required to ensure that the assessment process is not compromised by external pressures or misinterpretations of the examination's purpose. The correct approach involves a thorough understanding and strict adherence to the Babalola University Ekiti entrance exams, stated objectives, and assessment criteria. This means focusing on evaluating a candidate's aptitude and readiness for university-level study as defined by the exam's design. The regulatory and ethical justification for this approach is rooted in the principle of fairness and the pursuit of academic excellence. The exam is designed to be a standardized measure, and deviating from its intended purpose undermines its validity and can lead to inequitable outcomes for other candidates. Upholding the integrity of the entrance examination is paramount to maintaining the university's reputation and ensuring that admitted students are well prepared for the academic rigor. An incorrect approach that prioritizes external factors over the exam's stated purpose would be ethically unsound. For instance, focusing solely on a candidate's perceived potential for future financial contribution to the university, rather than their academic merit as assessed by the exam, represents a failure to uphold the principle of meritocracy. This not only violates the spirit of the entrance examination, but also risks admitting students who may not be academically prepared, potentially leading to higher attrition rates and a dilution of academic standards. Another incorrect approach, such as allowing personal biases or subjective impressions of a candidate's background to influence the assessment, directly contravenes the requirement for objective and standardized evaluation. This introduces unfairness and undermines the credibility of the entire admission process. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of the governing regulations and ethical principles. Professionals must first identify the core objectives of the assessment. They should then evaluate each potential course of action against these objectives and the relevant guidelines. If there is ambiguity, seeking clarification from the examination board or relevant university authorities is crucial. The decision should always prioritize fairness, objectivity, and the integrity of the assessment process, ensuring that all candidates are evaluated on the same, predetermined criteria. Question 11. Process analysis reveals that the Babalola University Ekiti admissions committee is reviewing applications for the upcoming academic year. The committee is tasked with selecting candidates who demonstrate academic excellence and potential for success. However, the committee members are debating the primary criteria for selection, with some advocating for a strict focus on past academic scores, while others believe a broader assessment is necessary. Considering admission to foster talent and provide access to quality education, which approach best aligns with the university's stated objectives and ethical considerations for admissions? Option A. A comprehensive evaluation that considers academic transcripts, extracurricular achievements, personal essays, letters of recommendation, and evidence of leadership or resilience. Option B. An admissions strategy that heavily emphasizes participation in extracurricular activities and leadership roles, even if academic performance is only moderately satisfactory. Option C. A system where the final admission decision is primarily determined by the outcome of unstructured, subjective interviews with applicants. Option D. A selection process that exclusively prioritizes applicants with the highest past academic scores, irrespective of other qualifications or circumstances. The correct answer is A. A comprehensive evaluation that considers academic transcripts, extracurricular achievements, personal essays, letters of recommendation, and evidence of leadership or resilience. Explanation. This scenario presents a challenge for the admissions committee by requiring them to balance the university's stated commitment to academic excellence with the need to consider diverse backgrounds and potential. As outlined in Babalola University Ekiti's admission guidelines, the core tension lies in interpreting academic excellence and ensuring that the selection process is fair and equitable, reflecting admission to foster talent from all segments of society. A rigid adherence to only past academic scores might inadvertently exclude promising candidates who have overcome significant socioeconomic barriers or demonstrated exceptional potential in other areas relevant to university success. The correct approach involves a holistic review of each applicant's profile. This means considering not only their academic transcripts, but also their extracurricular achievements, personal essays, letters of recommendation, and any evidence of leadership, resilience, or unique talents. This approach aligns with ABUED's stated commitment to identifying and nurturing individuals who will contribute positively to the university community and beyond. It reflects an understanding that academic potential can manifest in various ways, and that a narrow focus on pass grades can be a disservice to both the applicant and the institution. This method promotes fairness and equity, ensuring that the selection process is not unduly biased against individuals from less privileged backgrounds. An approach that solely prioritizes past academic performance, without considering other factors, fails to acknowledge the multifaceted nature of potential, and may violate the spirit of ABUED inclusive admission policy. It risks overlooking candidates who, despite lower scores due to extenuating circumstances, possess the drive and aptitude to excel at university. An approach that gives undue weight to extracurricular activities at the expense of academic preparedness would also be problematic. While extracurriculars are important, a foundational level of academic competence is generally a prerequisite for success in university-level studies. This approach could lead to admitting students who are not adequately prepared for the academic rigor of ABUED programs. An approach that relies heavily on subjective interviews without a structured framework or clear evaluation criteria could introduce bias and inconsistency into the selection process. While interviews can provide valuable insights, they must be conducted fairly and objectively to be a reliable component of admissions. The professional decision-making process for admissions committees should involve a clear understanding of the university's mission and admission criteria. This includes developing a rubric or framework for evaluating applicants that balances academic merit with other relevant factors. Regular training for committee members on fair and unbiased evaluation techniques is crucial. Furthermore, a commitment to transparency in the admissions process, while respecting applicant confidentiality, helps build trust and ensures accountability. Question 12. Process analysis reveals that the Babalola University, Ekiti Admissions Committee, is reviewing applications for a highly competitive program. While many applicants meet the minimum academic requirements, the committee is under pressure to fill the remaining slots quickly to meet enrollment targets. Considering the university's commitment to academic rigor and its broader educational mission, which of the following approaches best reflects a responsible and ethical decision-making process for admitting students? Option A. Making admission decisions based on informal discussions and personal impressions of applicants, particularly those who may not fully meet the stated academic requirements but seem like a good fit for the university. Option B. Focusing on applicants who demonstrate strong financial capacity or have strong recommendations from influential individuals, as these factors can contribute to the university's resources and reputation. Option C. A comprehensive evaluation of each applicant's academic record, extracurricular activities, personal essays, and any other supporting documents against the published admission criteria for the program, ensuring a holistic assessment of their potential. Option D. Prioritizing applicants who significantly exceed the minimum academic cutoff scores, assuming they represent the highest caliber of students, and quickly filling the remaining spots with those closest to the threshold. The correct answer is C. A comprehensive evaluation of each applicant's academic record, extracurricular activities, personal essays, and any other supporting documents against the published admission criteria for the program, ensuring a holistic assessment of their potential. Explanation. The scenario presents a challenge for the admissions committee of Babalola University, Ekiti, in balancing the university's commitment to academic excellence with its mandate to provide access to education for a diverse range of qualified students. The pressure to meet enrollment targets while upholding stringent academic standards requires careful consideration of various stakeholder interests, including prospective students, parents, faculty, and the university administration. The core of the challenge lies in interpreting and applying the university's admission policies fairly and consistently, ensuring that decisions are not arbitrary but are grounded in established criteria. The correct approach involves a thorough review of each applicant's academic record, extracurricular achievements, and personal statement against the published admission criteria for the chosen program. This approach prioritizes a holistic evaluation, recognizing that a student's potential extends beyond raw academic scores. It aligns with the university's stated mission to foster well-rounded individuals and is ethically sound as it treats each applicant with fairness and respect, adhering to the established guidelines of Babalola University. Adu Ekiti. This method ensures that decisions are transparent, justifiable, and in line with the university's commitment to admitting students who are academically prepared and possess the potential to contribute positively to the university community. An incorrect approach would be to solely focus on applicants who exceed the minimum cutoff scores, without considering other relevant factors. This fails to acknowledge the university's potential commitment to diversity and may overlook promising candidates who demonstrate strong potential through other means, such as leadership roles or significant community involvement. Ethically, this approach could be seen as discriminatory if it systematically disadvantages certain groups of applicants. Another incorrect approach would be to prioritize applicants based on their ability to pay tuition fees or their connections to influential individuals. This directly contravenes the principles of merit-based admissions and fairness, which are fundamental to any reputable educational institution. Such an approach would undermine the integrity of the admissions process and could lead to the admission of students who are not academically prepared, potentially impacting the overall academic standards of the university. It also raises serious ethical concerns regarding corruption and favoritism. A third incorrect approach would be to deviate from the published admission criteria based on anecdotal evidence or personal biases. This undermines the transparency and consistency of the admissions process. It is crucial for admissions decisions to be based on objective criteria and established policies, rather than subjective judgments or hearsay, to ensure fairness and maintain the credibility of the university. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of the university's admission policies and guidelines. It requires a commitment to fairness, objectivity, and transparency. Admissions committees should be trained to evaluate applicants holistically, considering all relevant factors outlined in the admission criteria. When faced with difficult decisions, committees should consult with senior university officials or the admissions board to ensure adherence to policy and ethical standards. Documentation of the decision-making process is also crucial for accountability and future reference. Question 13. Process analysis reveals that the Babalola University, Adu Ekiti Admissions Committee, is reviewing applications for the upcoming academic year. A significant number of applicants from diverse socioeconomic backgrounds have demonstrated strong potential through extracurricular activities and compelling personal statements, but their standardized test scores are slightly below the typical threshold for direct admission. The committee is under pressure to meet enrollment targets, which approach best balances the university's commitment to academic rigor with its mission to provide educational opportunities. Option A. Prioritize applicants who have attended prestigious secondary schools, assuming a higher likelihood of academic preparedness. Option B. Offer conditional admission to all applicants who fall slightly below the test score threshold, provided they achieve a certain GPA in their first year. Option C. Strictly adhere to the minimum standardized test score requirement for all applicants, regardless of other qualifications, to maintain academic standards. Option D. Implement a holistic review process that considers academic transcripts, standardized test scores, extracurricular achievements, personal essays, and recommendation letters, with a provision for borderline cases to be reviewed by a subcommittee. The correct answer is C. Strictly adhere to the minimum standardized test score requirement for all applicants, regardless of other qualifications, to maintain academic standards. Explanation. The scenario presents a challenge for the admissions committee of Babalola University, Adu Ekiti, in balancing the university's commitment to academic excellence with its mandate to provide access to education for a diverse range of qualified candidates. The pressure to meet enrollment targets while upholding stringent academic standards requires a nuanced approach to evaluating applicants, particularly those from less privileged backgrounds who may possess significant potential but lack certain conventional academic markers. The university's internal policies and the broader Nigerian educational regulatory framework, as it pertains to university admissions, guide this process. The correct approach involves a holistic review of each applicant's profile, considering not only academic transcripts, but also extracurricular achievements, personal essays, and recommendation letters. This method aligns with the university's stated mission to foster talent and provide opportunities. It also implicitly adheres to principles of fairness and equity in admissions, ensuring that potential is not overlooked due to socioeconomic disadvantages. This approach is justifiable under the general principles of university admissions in Nigeria, which encourage institutions to develop admission policies that are both rigorous and inclusive, aiming to identify candidates who will thrive academically and contribute positively to the university community. An incorrect approach would be to solely rely on standardized test scores or previous academic performance without considering mitigating circumstances or alternative indicators of potential. This would fail to acknowledge the diverse educational backgrounds of applicants and could inadvertently exclude promising students who have faced systemic barriers. Such a rigid adherence to a single metric would be ethically questionable, as it could lead to discriminatory outcomes. Another incorrect approach would be to prioritize candidates based on perceived social status or connections, which directly contravenes principles of meritocracy and fair selection, and would be a clear violation of ethical admissions practices expected of any reputable educational institution. Professionals involved in university admissions should employ a decision-making framework that begins with a thorough understanding of the university's mission and admission criteria. This should be followed by a systematic evaluation of each applicant against these criteria, utilizing a multifaceted assessment approach. When faced with borderline cases or unique circumstances, professionals should consult relevant university policies and, if necessary, seek guidance from senior admissions officers or the admissions committee to ensure decisions are fair, consistent, and ethically sound, always prioritizing the identification of genuine academic potential. Question 14. The performance metrics show a significant decrease in student participation in the university's online learning modules over the past semester. Considering the university's commitment to academic excellence and the regulatory framework governing higher education in Nigeria, which of the following actions would be the most appropriate and professionally responsible response for the university administration? Option A. Conduct a comprehensive review of the online learning platform's design, content relevance, and technical support, while simultaneously soliciting direct feedback from students and faculty regarding their experiences and challenges with the platform. Option B. Immediately increase the number of mandatory online assignments to ensure students engage with the material, assuming the issue is solely a lack of student effort. Option C. Propose the immediate suspension of all online learning modules and revert entirely to traditional in-person instruction for all courses. Option D. Allocate additional budget to marketing the online learning resources more aggressively, without investigating the underlying reasons for low engagement. The correct answer is A. Conduct a comprehensive review of the online learning platform's design, content relevance, and technical support, while simultaneously soliciting direct feedback from students and faculty regarding their experiences and challenges with the platform. Explanation. The performance metrics show a decline in student engagement with online learning resources provided by Babalola University, Ekiti. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires the university administration to balance the need for academic rigor and student success with the practicalities of resource allocation and the evolving landscape of educational technology. A careful judgment is needed to identify the root causes of disengagement and implement effective, sustainable solutions that align with the university's mission and regulatory expectations for quality education. The correct approach involves a comprehensive review of the online learning platform's usability, content relevance, and technical support, alongside gathering direct feedback from students and faculty. This approach is right because it is data-driven and student-centric, reflecting best practices in educational quality assurance. It aligns with the guiding principles of the National Universities Commission, NUC, in Nigeria, which emphasizes the need for universities to adopt modern pedagogical approaches and ensure the quality of education delivered, whether online or in person. Specifically, NUC guidelines often stress the importance of continuous improvement, stakeholder engagement, and the effective use of technology to enhance learning outcomes. By investigating multiple facets of the online learning experience, the university demonstrates a commitment to identifying and addressing systemic issues rather than superficial ones. An approach that focuses solely on increasing the quantity of online content without assessing its effectiveness or student reception is professionally flawed. This fails to address the core issue of engagement and may lead to wasted resources and further student frustration. It neglects the NUC's emphasis on the *quality* and *relevance* of educational materials, not just their availability. Another incorrect approach would be to blame student motivation exclusively, without investigating the university's provision of resources and support. This is ethically questionable, as it shifts responsibility away from the institution's role in facilitating learning and fails to acknowledge potential shortcomings in the online learning environment itself. It also overlooks the NUC's expectation that universities provide a conducive learning environment, which includes adequate support for online learning. A third incorrect approach, such as immediately discontinuing the online learning platform without thorough investigation, is premature and potentially detrimental. This would disregard the potential benefits of online learning and the investment already made, failing to explore solutions that could improve the existing system. It demonstrates a lack of due diligence and a failure to adapt to modern educational delivery methods, which are increasingly encouraged by regulatory bodies like the NUC for flexibility and accessibility. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured problem-solving framework. This includes clearly defining the problem, gathering relevant data from multiple sources, performance metrics, student surveys, faculty feedback, technical logs, analyzing the root causes, developing a range of potential solutions, evaluating these solutions against feasibility, cost-effectiveness, and alignment with institutional goals and regulatory requirements, implementing the chosen solution, and finally, monitoring and evaluating its impact. This iterative process ensures that decisions are informed, ethical, and lead to continuous improvement in the educational experience. Question 15. The audit findings indicate potential irregularities in the administration of the Babalola University Ekiti entrance examination, as communicated through an unofficial email from a junior administrative staff member. What is the most appropriate immediate course of action for the head of admissions? Option A. Forward the unofficial email to the university's external examination board for immediate review and action. Option B. Disregard the email as it was sent through an unofficial channel and does not constitute a formal report. Option C. Initiate a formal internal investigation into the alleged irregularities, following university protocols for handling audit-related concerns, and request the official documentation of the findings. Option D. Publicly announce a temporary suspension of the entrance examination, results pending further investigation. The correct answer is C. Initiate a formal internal investigation into the alleged irregularities, following university protocols for handling audit-related concerns, and request the official documentation of the findings. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because the audit findings, while potentially valid, have been communicated through an informal channel, bypassing established university communication protocols. This raises concerns about the integrity of the information, the potential for misinterpretation, and the appropriate channels for addressing such findings. The university's entrance examination process is governed by specific regulations and guidelines designed to ensure fairness, transparency, and adherence to academic standards. Any deviation from these established procedures, especially concerning audit findings that could impact admissions or academic integrity, requires careful judgment. The correct approach involves formally acknowledging the findings and initiating the university's established internal review process. This ensures that the information is handled through the proper channels, allowing for verification, investigation, and appropriate action in accordance with Babalola University's regulations and ethical guidelines for academic institutions. This approach upholds the principles of due process and institutional integrity. An incorrect approach would be to immediately act on the information without formal verification, or to dismiss it outright due to the informal communication. Acting without verification risks making decisions based on potentially inaccurate or incomplete information, which could lead to unfair outcomes for prospective students or damage the university's reputation. Dismissing the findings without proper review, even if communicated informally, could mean overlooking genuine issues that require attention, thereby failing to uphold the university's commitment to academic quality and integrity. Another incorrect approach would be to share the informal findings with external parties before they have been officially verified and addressed internally, which would be a breach of confidentiality and university protocol. Professionals in such situations should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes adherence to established institutional policies and procedures. This involves 1. Recognizing the nature of the information and its source. 2. Consulting relevant university regulations and guidelines pertaining to audit findings and communication protocols. 3. Initiating the formal internal review process for verification and investigation. 4. Communicating and acting only through authorized channels and after due process. Question 16. Upon reviewing the admission requirements for Babalola University, Ekiti, an applicant discovers conflicting information regarding the specific subject combinations required for the Faculty of Law entrance examination. One source suggests a broad range of arts and social science subjects, while another emphasizes a more restricted selection. To ensure a successful application, what is the most appropriate and professionally sound method for the applicant to determine the definitive entrance examination requirements? Option A. Assume the requirements are similar to those of other reputable Nigerian universities and prepare accordingly. Option B. Directly consult the most recently published official admission handbook and prospectus for Babalola University, Ekiti, for the current academic year. Option C. Rely on advice from current students in the Faculty of Law, as they would have recent experience with the examination. Option D. Seek clarification through informal social media groups dedicated to university admissions in Nigeria. The correct answer is B. Directly consult the most recently published official admission handbook and prospectus for Babalola University, Ekiti, for the current academic year. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge for an aspiring student due to the inherent responsibility of understanding and adhering to the admission policies of Babalola University, Ekiti. Misinterpreting or disregarding these policies can lead to disqualification, wasted effort, and potential reputational damage. The core of the challenge lies in accurately identifying and applying the university's specific entrance examination requirements, which are governed by the university's internal regulations and the Nigerian National Universities Commission, NUC, Guidelines for University Admissions. The correct approach involves a thorough and direct consultation of the official Babalola University, Ekiti Admission Handbook, and prospectus for the current academic year. This document is the primary source of truth for all entrance requirements, including academic prerequisites, examination formats, and any specific subject combinations mandated by the university. Adhering to this official documentation ensures compliance with the university's established admission framework and the broader regulatory landscape set by the NUC, which oversees university education in Nigeria. This approach demonstrates diligence, respect for institutional processes, and a commitment to meeting the stated criteria for admission. An incorrect approach would be to rely on informal advice from peers or unverified online forums. This is professionally unacceptable because such sources are not authoritative and may contain outdated, inaccurate, or misinterpreted information. This failure to consult official sources directly violates the principle of due diligence and can lead to non-compliance with the university's specific requirements, potentially resulting in the rejection of an application. Another incorrect approach would be to assume that the entrance examination requirements are identical to those of other universities. This demonstrates a lack of specific research and an overgeneralization that ignores the unique academic and administrative policies of Babalola University, Ekiti, and could lead to inadequate preparation or the submission of an application that does not meet the university's unique criteria. The professional decision-making process for similar situations requires a systematic approach. First, identify the governing body and its official documentation, in this case, Babalola University and its admission handbook and the NUC guidelines. Second, prioritize information from these primary sources over secondary or informal channels. Third, critically evaluate all information to ensure it is current and relevant to the specific academic year. Finally, act based on the confirmed requirements, ensuring all steps are taken in accordance with the established procedures. Question 17. Cost-benefit analysis shows that admitting a candidate with slightly lower academic scores, but a significant personal financial contribution, could yield immediate financial gains for Babalola University, Ekiti. Considering the university's commitment to academic excellence and equitable access to education, which approach best aligns with the regulatory framework and ethical guidelines for university admissions in Nigeria. Option A. Admit the candidate based on the projected financial benefit while ensuring they meet the minimum entry requirements as this strengthens the university's financial position to support other students. Option B. Create a special admission category for candidates with substantial financial contributions, allowing for a more flexible assessment of academic qualifications. Option C. Reject the candidate if their academic scores are below a certain threshold, regardless of their financial capacity, to maintain the university's reputation for academic rigor. Option D. Prioritize the candidate's academic merit and suitability for the chosen program, ensuring that any financial aid or scholarship decisions are made through a transparent and equitable process, independent of the initial admission decision based on merit. Correct answer is D. Prioritize the candidate's academic merit and suitability for the chosen program, ensuring that any financial aid or scholarship decisions are made through a transparent and equitable process, independent of the initial admission decision based on merit. Explanation. The scenario presents a common challenge in university admissions where financial considerations might influence decisions, potentially conflicting with fairness and merit-based selection. The challenge lies in balancing the university's need for resources with its ethical obligation to provide equitable access to education based on academic potential and suitability, rather than solely on the ability to pay or the perceived immediate financial benefit to the institution. Careful judgment is required to ensure that the admission process remains transparent, fair, and aligned with Babalola University's stated mission and values. The correct approach involves prioritizing the university's established admission criteria, which are designed to identify academically capable and suitable candidates, while also considering the broader impact of financial aid and scholarship policies. This approach upholds the principle of meritocracy and ensures that financial constraints do not unfairly disadvantage deserving applicants. It aligns with the ethical guidelines of educational institutions that aim to foster an inclusive and academically rigorous environment. Specifically, within the Nigerian regulatory framework for higher education, admission processes are expected to be transparent, non-discriminatory, and focused on selecting candidates who can benefit from and contribute to the academic community. Decisions should be based on academic performance, entrance examination results, and other relevant criteria outlined in the university's prospectus, rather than on ad hoc financial incentives that could compromise the integrity of the selection process. An incorrect approach would be to allow the perceived immediate financial benefit of a candidate to override established academic and suitability criteria. This could manifest as admitting a candidate with lower academic scores simply because they represent a significant financial contribution, or conversely, rejecting a highly qualified candidate due to a perceived lack of immediate financial return. Such actions would violate the ethical principles of fairness and equity in education. Furthermore, it could contravene guidelines from regulatory bodies like the National Universities Commission, NUC, in Nigeria, which emphasize academic standards and the integrity of the admission process. Another incorrect approach would be to create a separate, less rigorous admission track for financially privileged students, thereby undermining the value of the standard admission process and potentially leading to a two-tiered system that compromises academic quality and institutional reputation. This would also fail to uphold the principle of equal opportunity. A professional decision-making process for such situations should involve a clear adherence to the university's published admission policies and procedures. When faced with a situation where financial considerations seem to influence admission decisions, a professional should first consult the official admission criteria and guidelines. If there is ambiguity or a potential conflict, seeking clarification from the admissions committee or relevant university authorities is crucial. The decision-making framework should prioritize transparency, fairness, and the long-term academic health and reputation of the institution. It involves evaluating candidates based on their holistic profile against established benchmarks, ensuring that any financial aid or scholarship decisions are made through a structured and equitable process and are not the primary determinants of admission. Question 18. The assessment process reveals that an applicant for the law program at Babalola University Ekiti has submitted a secondary school certificate with a grade in a core subject that is 1 point below the stated minimum requirement for direct entry. However, the applicant has an otherwise excellent academic record and has provided a compelling personal statement. From a stakeholder perspective, what is the most appropriate course of action? Option A. Reject the application due to the failure to meet the explicit minimum grade requirement in the core subject, as per the published admission criteria. Option B. Forward the application to the Dean of the Faculty of Law for a discretionary decision, as they may have the authority to waive such requirements. Option C. Grant admission based on the overall strong academic profile and compelling personal statement, considering the minor deviation as acceptable given the applicant's potential. Option D. Offer the applicant a conditional admission, requiring them to pass a remedial course in the specified subject before commencing their degree program. The correct answer is C. Grant admission based on the overall strong academic profile and compelling personal statement, considering the minor deviation as acceptable given the applicant's potential. Explanation. The assessment process for Babalola University Adu Ekiti, ABUED, entrance examinations presents a unique challenge due to the direct impact on prospective students' futures and the university's reputation. Ensuring fairness, transparency, and adherence to established academic and administrative guidelines is paramount. The scenario requires a stakeholder perspective, considering the interests of applicants, the university administration, faculty, and potentially regulatory bodies overseeing higher education in Nigeria. The core challenge lies in balancing the need for rigorous evaluation with ethical considerations and the specific regulations governing university admissions in Nigeria, as interpreted and implemented by ABUED. The correct approach involves a thorough review of the applicant's submitted credentials against the published admission requirements for the chosen program at ABUED. This approach prioritizes adherence to the university's stated academic criteria and the integrity of the admissions process. It aligns with the principles of meritocracy and equal opportunity, ensuring that all candidates are evaluated based on the same objective standards. This is ethically sound and professionally responsible, as it upholds the university's academic standards and avoids any perception of bias or favoritism, which could lead to legal challenges or damage to the institution's standing. An incorrect approach would be to overlook a minor discrepancy in the applicant's documentation without a clear policy or precedent for such exceptions. This could lead to admitting a candidate who does not fully meet the established criteria, potentially compromising the academic rigor of the program and setting a dangerous precedent for future admissions. It also risks violating the university's own admission regulations and could be seen as unfair to other applicants who meticulously follow the guidelines. Another incorrect approach would be to grant admission based on a personal connection or recommendation without a formal review of the applicant's academic qualifications. This undermines the integrity of the admissions process, introduces bias, and is ethically indefensible. It violates the principle of merit-based selection and could lead to the admission of underqualified students, negatively impacting the academic environment and the university's reputation. Such actions could also have legal ramifications if they are found to contravene Nigerian higher education admission laws or university statutes. A professional decision-making process in such situations should involve 1. Clearly understanding the university's published admission requirements and any relevant Nigerian higher education regulations. 2. Objectively assessing the applicant's submitted documents against these requirements. 3. Consulting with the relevant admissions committee or academic department if any ambiguities or exceptions are considered. 4. Documenting the decision-making process and the rationale behind it. 5. Ensuring transparency and fairness throughout the process. Question 19. Examination of the data shows that a prospective student is concerned about the format and specific topics covered in the Babalola University Adu Ekiti, ABUED, entrance examination. They have heard from peers about certain areas being emphasized more than others. What is the most appropriate course of action for this student to ensure they are preparing effectively and ethically according to ABUED entrance examination guidelines? Option A. Attempt to find and purchase unofficial study guides that promise to cover likely exam questions. Option B. Seek out individuals who claim to have insider knowledge of the examination content or have access to unofficial past papers. Option C. Rely solely on information shared by friends and online forums about the perceived emphasis of certain topics without official verification. Option D. Contact the ABUED admissions office directly to request official information regarding the examination syllabus, format, and any available preparation resources. The correct answer is D. Contact the ABUED admissions office directly to request official information regarding the examination syllabus, format, and any available preparation resources. Explanation. The scenario presents a challenge for prospective students and the university admissions team regarding the integrity of the entrance examination process. Ensuring fairness, transparency, and adherence to the Babalola University Ekiti, ABUED, entrance examination guidelines is paramount. The professional challenge lies in identifying and addressing potential breaches of these guidelines while upholding the university's reputation and the principles of academic integrity. Careful judgment is required to distinguish between legitimate inquiries and attempts to circumvent established procedures. The correct approach involves a direct and transparent communication with the university's admissions office, seeking clarification on the examination structure and content based on the official ABUED entrance examination framework. This upholds the principle of fairness by ensuring all candidates are aware of and operate within the same established rules. It demonstrates a commitment to academic integrity by seeking to understand the examination requirements through official channels, thereby avoiding any actions that could be construed as seeking an unfair advantage or attempting to compromise the examination's validity. This aligns with the ethical imperative to respect and follow institutional regulations. An incorrect approach would be to seek information from unofficial sources or individuals who claim to have prior knowledge of the examination content. This is ethically unsound, as it bypasses the established examination protocols and could lead to the dissemination of misinformation or actual examination leaks, thereby undermining the fairness and validity of the ABUED entrance examination. Such actions would violate the spirit of academic integrity and could result in disciplinary action. Another incorrect approach would be to attempt to obtain past examination papers or sample questions without official authorization. This action directly contravenes the principles of fair assessment and could be interpreted as an attempt to gain an unfair advantage over other candidates who are preparing through legitimate means. It demonstrates a lack of respect for the examination process and the university's commitment to a standardized evaluation. The professional decision-making process for similar situations involves prioritizing adherence to official guidelines and regulation. When faced with uncertainty or the temptation to seek shortcuts, a professional should always default to seeking clarification from the designated authority, in this case, the ABUED admissions office, and preparing through approved channels. This ensures that all actions are transparent, ethical, and in compliance with the established framework, thereby safeguarding both personal integrity and the reputation of the institution. Question 20. Assessment of an applicant's suitability for admission to Babalola University, Ekiti, requires a comprehensive evaluation. Which of the following approaches best reflects the principles of fair and effective university admissions within the Nigerian regulatory context? Option A. Prioritizing applicants based on the influence or recommendations of prominent individuals or alumni. Option B. Admission based primarily on the applicants or their family's financial capacity to pay tuition fees, with minimal regard for academic merit. Option C. A holistic review considering academic performance, extracurricular activities, personal statement, and any other relevant attributes that demonstrate potential for success at the university. Option D. Strict adherence to the entrance examination score as the sole determinant of admission, irrespective of other qualifications or potential. Correct answer is C. A holistic review considering academic performance, extracurricular activities, personal statement, and any other relevant attributes that demonstrate potential for success at the university. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires an applicant to demonstrate an understanding of the foundational principles of university admissions, specifically within the context of Babalola University, Ekiti. The challenge lies in identifying the most appropriate and ethically sound approach to assessing an applicant's suitability, balancing academic merit with other relevant factors, all while adhering to the university's stated admission policies and the broader regulatory framework governing higher education in Nigeria. Careful judgment is required to avoid biases and ensure fairness. The correct approach involves a holistic review of the applicant's academic record, extracurricular achievements, and personal statement, aligning with Babalola University's stated commitment to admitting well-rounded individuals. This approach is ethically justified as it promotes fairness and equal opportunity by considering a range of attributes beyond just examination scores. It also aligns with the implicit regulatory expectation for higher education institutions to have transparent and equitable admission processes that identify candidates most likely to succeed and contribute to the university community. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on the entrance examination score, disregarding other aspects of the applicant's profile, is professionally unacceptable. This fails to acknowledge the university's stated desire for diverse talents and can lead to the exclusion of potentially strong candidates who may excel in other areas. Ethically, it can be seen as a narrow and potentially unfair assessment. Another incorrect approach that prioritizes personal connections or recommendations over objective criteria is also professionally unacceptable. This introduces bias and undermines the integrity of the admission process, violating principles of fairness and meritocracy. It can also contravene regulatory guidelines that mandate impartial selection. A third incorrect approach that involves admitting an applicant based on their ability to pay higher fees, irrespective of their academic qualifications, is fundamentally unethical and likely violates Nigerian higher education regulations. This prioritizes financial gain over academic suitability and the university's educational mission, creating an inequitable system. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve 1. Thoroughly understanding the specific admission criteria and values of the institution. 2. Applying a consistent and objective evaluation framework to all applicants. 3. Prioritizing fairness, equity, and meritocracy in the selection process. 4. Being aware of and adhering to all relevant national and institutional regulations governing admissions. 5. Documenting the decision-making process to ensure transparency and accountability.